All right. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host for today's broadcast. It's Name 13 as we are underway for qualifying here for our 5th round of the season at Laguna Seca. Currently 13 drivers on track trying to set their best possible lap here. Here we are. Best laps this time. Scored Buffalo's in the 24s and has actually just gone back to the top. Now, Scored Buffalo is currently trying to complete a challenge where you, and our session is coming to an end now, but Scored Buffalo trying to complete a challenge to where he will take home the pole and the fastest lap and win the pole and the race today. LuckyVII, you saw there, had pole for the first 2 laps, but the last possible moment, Scored Buffalo has taken pole. Now, Buffalo left a lot of points on the table last week at Road America after having to leave midway through the event. It's looking like he's trying to get bonus points today in order to make up for the loss in points from last week. And it does not appear that anyone else is even able to come close to his time, in fact. Lowest driver on the poll on the timesheets right now appears to be SRD Shredder. Could not get out of the 128.1s apparently. When your leaders are saying times in the 124.6s, that could be a very, very dangerous situation. So Shredder, who is off the back of 2 very strong performances at Watkins Glen and Road America, may be near the back of the grid in today's event, and this could end up being incredibly problematic. Few drivers still running around on the circuit trying to complete a lap here and in the session. This could end up being very problematic for LuckyVII, who is trying to recover from missing the first race of the season. He's won 2 of the 4 races we've had since. Technically, he's won 2 of the 3 races he has started thus far this year. But starting on the front row, but on the outside, coming down to turn 2. Turn 1 is just kind of a high-speed bend over a hill. It's not really a proper corner. But being on the outside of a deep hairpin could really end up harming LuckyVII's ability to actually make a proper run at this race win, something that he desperately needs. He is still many, many points out from Scored Buffalo in the championship right now. Alright, so now we're in the waiting period to load up the event proper. Real quickly, let's go ahead and look through everyone's best times, get you an idea as to what everyone's best times is. And Shredder, it's worse than we were anticipating. His best time, a 129.675 here. .675 for SRD Shredder, by far the worst in the field. He was complaining that he was having issues with the tires falling off. We know that Shredder likes to run a setup that is incredibly abusive on his tires typically. It brought him to reasonable success at Watkins Glen and Road America, but seems to be majorly hurting here. In the moments before the race, he was apparently out looking, searching desperately for some sort of setup that would improve circumstances. At the top, though, Scored Buffalo, 124.644. No one else is in that range. The next closest man is going to be in the 25s. LuckyVII put a 125.179. So a 7/10 of a second difference between your fastest and your second fastest driver. I'm going to be 100% honest. It looks like the issues we were having with BOP, the way it looked early at the season, it looks like they may be compounded due to the way that this circuit is. Now, Laguna Seca, we are still running the pre-repaved version of Laguna Seca in Forza Motorsport 7. the surface is very unbearable and likes to tear apart and eat away at tires, there is a high possibility, not a guarantee, but a high possibility that drivers may have to make 2 stops across today's race instead of 1. Being able to make sure that your tires survive to the end of the race is going to be incredibly important. A lot of drivers set times in the 25s, though, to be fair. MabeyRacing 125.854, TNR Horizon 125.6, Rockmar 125.791, RZX 125.384. That was good enough to get him 3rd. Mr. Sunshine is in the 26s, though. He was not able to break into the 25s. So, again, looks like we have a significant amount of spread throughout from the front to the back, but once you drop Shredder out of the range, everybody else is in the 27s or better right now, and Matter, he's only was able to set a 27.1. Everyone else is in the 25s or 26s, so we could have, out of our 13-car field here, we could see about 10 drivers all on top of each other with a span of about 1.5 seconds. And Laguna Seca is a circuit that doesn't have a whole lot of long straightaways. Everything is going to be incredibly focused on the ability to turn your car, the ability to make handling work here, and ability to preserve your tires. There's not really very many proper overtaking opportunities, especially with GT3 cars, which are incredibly oversized. And due to that, I won't lie, I don't think we're going to see a lot of driver-on-driver overtakes going on today. I think a large part of today's race is going to come down to just sticking out there, surviving on your rubber the better than everybody else. And if you have clean air, I think that's going to be the thing that's going to win you this race. For Scored Buffalo, winning the pole by 7/10 over the next fastest person, I'm going to be honest, I think it's the car setup. I think it's the car and a misuse in the balance of power that has given them this massive advantage over everybody else on the grid right now. I don't know if there's going to end up being a change in BOP after today's race. It may end up being that he ends up burning through his tires so quickly that it may not matter as well. We don't know. Last week at Road America, tire wear ended up being a big factor because we had no yellow flags. A similar circumstance today could really upend the event. But as I'm saying, 13 drivers. Real quickly, we're going to go ahead and look through the championship point standings as they are right now after last week's race at Road America. So at this stage in the season, going from the back to the front, 30th in points is the Tire Barrier. He has 42.5 points right now. 29th is Boiled Bird. He has 88. He has 80 points. 28th is Now Prime 77 with 95 points. 27th is SDR Dremore with 100 points. 26th is Porsche FL with 110. 25th is Coco Gable 11 with 120 points. 24th is DMS Aspect with 125 points. 23rd is Flag 4199 with 127.5 points. Then we get to a bit of a jump as we get to the drivers who have made multiple starts this season. You have RZM Sean, he has 170 points. 21st is RZM Valkyrie with 180. 20th is Tactical Fallout with 185. 19th is LMP Grizz with 230 points, which puts him into a tie with RZM Brett for 18th. Then you have another jump. 17th is TTJ11, he has 275 points. 16th is TFB Matter with 285. 15th is TMS Bumdrop with 305 points. 14th is Larrybtheg with 325 points. 13th is RZM Arsenal with 330 points. 12th is NFL Racer 48 with 345. Another jump to 11th with GRM Jagged. He has 370 points. There's a tie for 9th in the championship between Ludicrous Speed and Mexican Badass. They both have 375 points each. 8th is MabeyRacing with 410 points. 7th is RZX U5AMVP with 465 points. 6th is Prius Killer 8110 with 475 points. Then we have a jump into our potential championship contenders. 5th is TNR Horizon with 510 points. 4th is SRD Shredder with 530. There is a tie for second between Mr. Sunshine and LuckyVII. They both have 580 points each. And your current championship leader as of now is Scored Buffalo with 665 points. With Buffalo having locked up the pole, at least for today's race, he needs to try and get the fastest clean lap in the middle of the race and try to win if he wants to maximize his take home for bonus points in today's race. So right now, we're just on standby, waiting to get underway for the event. 52 laps is going to be the distance of today's race. So we are going to be here for a good chunk of time today. This race is easily going to be longer than an hour, and this is going to be a matter of survival. Drivers who have put all of their stock into being able to make their tires survive may have an advantage. As we stand by right now, waiting to get underway. Just stand by, waiting to get underway for the event. Ended up actually starting up the broadcast a little bit early. I honestly thought I was going to be running extremely late and was going to miss the start of this race. Ended up catching the very tail end of qualifying. Again, points are on the line, as many as 20 points in total for Scored Buffalo. He's already secured the pole by a massive margin. And I'm going to be 100% honest, unless there's something that takes Buffalo out of this race or he gets held up behind slower traffic for a significant amount of time today, there's a high likelihood he's going to walk off with maximum points today. Right now they're trying to get Scored Buffalo to get underway, and then we will start our race proper here. Here we are, as we now begin to load onto the circuit here. 13 cars will be taking us to the green flag at Mazda Raceway, Laguna Seca. Big things to watch. The field is sandwiched by BMWs. One BMW at the front, one BMW in the back, and then another one near the back, and another one just about midway through. This could end up being interesting if we have a race today where the BMWs fly up the grid without issue. All right, one lap under safety car. Starting last place, as we covered, very unexpected circumstance. The Martini Racing car of SRD Shredder, he's going to be starting back there with TFB Matter. Matter is running that Red Bull sponsored number 84. Just ahead of him is the Porsche of Mr. Sunshine. Sunshine has had a few very strong performances this season. He is an outside championship threat right now. Just ahead of him is NFL Racer. NFL has had some strong runs as well this season in that BMW. Ahead of him, 9th is Prius Killer 8110. Prius hasn't shown up to every race, but the races he's shown up with, he has been very interesting to watch as we see them start to come down the back straightaway. Just ahead of Prius Killer is TTJ111, who is coming off of 3 straight very competitive events. Then ahead of Prius Killer is, TNR Horizon seems to be having some sort of issue. Are we backing out to start to do a lobby reset? We may be performing a lobby reset here. No, apparently not. We're just having issues with getting all these drivers in order. Well, ahead of TJ is Ludicrous Speed, representing the Chevrolet once again. That gold WeatherTech machine just ahead of him is MabeyRacing, the second highest of the qualifying BMWs today. Ahead of MabeyRacing is Rock Mario in that Tempest Motor Sports number 7. Then you get to the second row, TNR Horizon, RZX U5, share that row. RZX has finally got a proper finish that he felt that he deserved 2 weeks ago at Road America. It'd be interesting to see if he can back up with another podium. And then the front row, LuckyVII, he missed the first race of the season, and that may be the thing that ends up costing him the championship. But if he can get around Buffalo early on here, it would go well in helping him. And scored Buffalo, starting on pole position. He's already got a few bonus points locked up. He's going to try and go for even more today. As he comes down to the final corner, the field will double up out of this well, actually, they're going to double up before they get to this last left-hander and come down to the start-finish line. 52 laps of racing here at Laguna Seca. Be prepared, because in the desert, it gets hot, it gets sweaty. As they come down, the green flag will be flying in the air. And as they get in the way, it will be a drag race between Scored Buffalo and LuckyVII as they rush down into turn 2. As they crest the hill in turn 1, they're still in a dead heat. Lucky gets the car about 80% of the way ahead. He gets sideways under braking though. Buffalo hits the inside curb, pushes himself and Lucky a little bit wide. Lucky can't come back. There's contact. There's 2, there's 3 cars into each other in the back of the field. Lucky has the inside. Scored Buffalo has the outside. Scored Buffalo, just like what we've seen almost nearly this entire circuit, his weakness has been on starts and restarts, and he falls behind Lucky here at Laguna Seca. Lucky goes out in front. He is leading the first lap here as they go underneath the Mother's Bridge and now into the first of the uphill corners. All right, Scored Buffalo is in the BMW. It's supposed to be about 7/10 a second faster than Lucky in clean air, but in dirty air, what is it going to be? The longer Lucky can stay ahead of the BMW, the more it's going to chew up the tires. Buffalo is off. Buffalo goes off into the dirt, nearly hits the outside wall. It's going to bring TNR Horizon up behind him. Horizon gets a little bit sideways under braking now as the field heads down to the corkscrew the first time in anger. All right, Lucky still has the lead. Buffalo is second. TNR Horizon third. RZX is in fourth position. Fifth is Rock. Sixth is Prius Killer. Seventh is MabeyRacing. Maybe drops a tire into the grass farther back. Might end up losing a few seconds. Here comes Scored Buffalo. He has a run on Lucky coming to the final corner. They're going to stay just about nose to tail on corner exit, but Lucky will accelerate out of the final corner. He will officially lead the first lap today. For Scored Buffalo, he doesn't have to worry too much. He just needs to get out in front in some point in clean air and set a bunch of laps in clean air and hopefully get the fastest lap of the day. Then he needs to win the race. Should be incredibly easy. That seems to be the best car in the field, but actually making an overtake stick here at Laguna Seca is incredibly difficult. You can see Rock Morrow and Prius Killer have an incredible fight farther back there in the 6th position, but it seems like most of the field has already spread out into single file at this stage in the race. Your driver in last position right now is TFB Matter with Shredder in 12th and NFL Racer just outside of the top 10 and 11 position. Mr. Sunshine, who is one of your other championship contenders, is buried in 10th position right now. This is bad news for any sort of championship hopes he had. There's a little bit of a fight that might be developing for 3rd position. TNR Horizon is trying to keep RZX behind him as the top 2 are pulling away from the rest of the field here. Coming uphill to the highest point of the track once again. You can see ahead that Buffalo is stalking your leader Lucky, but is not making a move on him. The field now goes into the corkscrew again, and RZX is right there behind TNR. The Chevrolet is believed to have a significant advantage over the rest of the field when it comes to grip coming out of a corner. You can see that he's really utilizing that to pressure Horizon as they come around these last few corners here. A big twitch from Horizon. RZX has no issues. Similar, they're going to be nose to tail as they go into the final quarter. Now accelerating out of the final quarter and uphill to turn number 1. All right, this is going to be where things could get really interesting here. Farther up, again, Horizon seems to be able to Lucky seems to be able to outrun Buffalo into the corner, and Horizon is able to outrun RZX into turn 2 as well. So the drivers up front, for the moment, have an advantage in straight line speed. The question, though, is that did they get that advantage from running a lower downforce setup? If they are, then they may be dealing with an issue where their tires might end up falling off way faster than the drivers they're currently fighting against. Ahead, at the front, Scored Buffalo is putting massive pressure on Lucky. At Watkins Glen, we saw a similar situation to this. Lucky had the lead earlier. Scored Buffalo put pressure on him, and about a little less than a third of the way through that race, Lucky choked under pressure, and Scored Buffalo made the move stick. But it was in a high-speed, double-wide corner. There's really not very many corners around the circuit here that you can run side by side at and maintain good corners and good speed in both ways through the corner. For Scored Buffalo, he's going to need Lucky to make a mistake coming into or out of a corner and then try to out-accelerate him. big twitch by Lucky, entering the corkscrew, big slide by Scored Buffalo, coming out of the corkscrew. The difference between them stays the same. They continue to be pulling away from the rest of the field. This duo is on a level completely on their own. RZX drops a tire farther back, trying to keep up with TNR Horizon. Buffalo gets right into Lucky's rear bumper. Now he's going to look to the outside as they come down into the final corner. Scored Buffalo is going to accelerate out. He is on the outside of LuckyVII as they now come uphill. This is the run down to turn number 1, and it looks like Lucky, again, has a car that's faster in a straight line. But Buffalo is right there. He has the draft off of Lucky's machine. Nose to tail, Scored Buffalo again will look to the outside line, trying to make a move on Lucky. And while this is all happening, both these drivers are going to be chewing up their tires. But I think it's very obvious here that Scored Buffalo is the only driver that's not RZX who is not being compromised by dirty air. There does not seem to be any other serious side-by-side battles anywhere else on the track. Everything's just kind of following the driver ahead of them at the moment. Scored Buffalo and RZX seem to be the only drivers able to run in dirty air and not have their lap times massively compromised by it. But what Scored Buffalo's lap times are being compromised by is that gigantic green and black car ahead of him, denying him the ideal line through all these corners. And the longer and longer Buffalo is stuck behind Lucky, the more and more he's going to struggle with tire fall off because he does not have maximum amount of downforce on the nose of that car. All right, Lucky has a little bit of an airborne moment jumping onto the brakes. He sideways dove into the corkscrew way too aggressively, but again, Buffalo slides the rear tires coming out of the corkscrew. He's still right there. He gives Lucky another big shove. Now they come into the final right-hand corner again, and you can see Lucky really struggling to keep the car underneath him. Scored Buffalo seems to not be struggling at all. He looks to the outside. Lucky is going to maintain a wider exit line. He gets a great advantage against Scored Buffalo coming out of the corner, and using the straight line advantage that Bentley has, he is going to open up the gap on Buffalo as they come over the hump. That is turn 1, down into the hairpin at turn 2. Lucky may have locked up just a little bit under braking. He's lost all of his time that he gained on the straight under braking to Scored Buffalo. He'll again accelerate out of the hairpin. Farther back, RZX has lost touch with TNR Horizon. He may actually be dealing with aero wake more than we were anticipating. Our top 2 drivers are in a zone all of their own right now. Farther back in the field, there is some battles that we might be seeing start to form here. This is for 8th and 9th position. Right now, nose to tail, TTJ 111 and Ludicrous Speed. Ludicrous in the Chevrolet has the advantage, putting the power down coming out of the corner, but TJ seems to be stronger just about everywhere else. These two spent almost all day long fighting 3 weeks ago at Watkins Glen. Now they're back and picking it all up again here at Laguna Seca. Uphill once again and into this next corner. You can't go side by side through here. Ludicrous drops a tire into the outside grass. TJ is going to come to the inside. They're going to be side by side as they're running uphill. TJ backs out, but he's not going to be side by side with the Chevrolet going into the corkscrew. But Ludicrous is into botching the corner, slides through the dirt. He'll save the car just enough to keep TJ behind him, but these two are going to compromise themselves more than making a fight forward. And then if you look ahead of them, there's a 3-car fight farther up for 5th, 6th, and 7th position. MabeyRacing dives to the inside of Prius Killer as they come out of the final corner. Prius has the advantage coming out of the outside line and will be able to accelerate out of the corner ahead of the BMW of MabeyRacing. Mabey sees Prius just ahead of him, and then ahead of Prius is Rockmaro. Prius isn't really able to do anything to Rock at the moment, but Rock is not pulling away from Prius. So a pair of Bentleys against a BMW who is attacking them is the same situation that we see at the front of the field right now. Prius looks for a move on Rock, but Rock has a much, much better line coming out of turn 3 there. Again, the BMW looking to make something happen against Prius. The straight's not long enough, can't make it stick. And Mabey hits the dirt just a little bit, compromising their momentum out of the corner. Prius accelerates out without too much of an issue. TNR Horizon has fallen back into the clutches of RZX. Now, RZX isn't in a position to directly fight yet, but the circumstance is there. Meanwhile, at the front, fight is alive because here they come. Scored Buffalo is going to look to the outside of Lucky. Lucky will hold the inside. Scored Buffalo all sideways, all twisted up on the steering wheel coming down the corkscrew. He's definitely faster than Lucky. He is able to do everything that he wants to try and compromise Lucky around here. The thing is that Lucky has the advantage throughout every corner. He's able to dictate what does or doesn't happen for Scored Buffalo. I have no doubt in my mind that Buffalo has the better car driver combination right now, but Lucky is absolutely abusing every advantage that this track gives him. And when you're the leader here at Laguna Seca, the advantage that you get is significant. And real quickly, I want to go ahead and look at the tire wear of our leaders. Lucky is in the 17 to 18% wear. For Scored Buffalo, who is in second, he is in the 17 to 18% wear also. So despite spending all this time running right behind Lucky, right now Scored Buffalo's tire wear is not any worse than Lucky's at the moment. They are at dead heat, and this spells bad news for Lucky, because if this is the case, then there's no way that Lucky in this clean air is gaining a significant tire advantage over Scored Buffalo and can utilize that to make it to the first round of pit stops. The other question is going to be, will it be fuel that ends up being the thing that mandates the first round of stops, or will it be tires? And if it's tires, could we see a situation where drivers have to make 2 or more stops across the day today? Again, our leader is coming uphill. Buffalo slides a little bit wide. He accelerates. Lucky is way faster. The Bentley seems to have a significant straight line speed advantage over the BMW. The BMW seems to be way stronger in the corners and under braking. The only corner that Buffalo seems to be a bit weaker than Lucky in is in the corkscrew, but that wasn't the case that time by. Buffalo holding to the outside. They're going to be side by side, and Lucky squeezes Buffalo into the dirt. Room, just enough room technically left. I think that would be considered okay by the stewards, but Buffalo looking inside, outside, trying to do anything he can. He's going to try and cross over Lucky coming out of the final quarter, but these GT3 cars are way too large to do a proper crossover move. All it does is end up compromising Buffalo's momentum coming out of the final corner, and again, Lucky opens up the gap on the straightaway, and again, under braking, we'll see Scored Buffalo close it all back down. So for 8 laps, we are now on our 8th lap of racing. Buffalo has been pressuring Lucky, and while these two are at it, they have absolutely blitzed away from the rest of the field. This duo is in a zone all of their own today. Horizon is nearly 5 seconds out from them, and RZX U5AMVP is just a little bit behind him. Then there's another gap. Rockmar was starting to pull away from Prius Killer and MabeyRacing. Then everyone from about 8th to 12th are all on top of each other in the back of the field. TFB Matter is 15 seconds off of 12th position right now. We stay green, and there's a high likelihood that we could see this entire race play out under green flag conditions from start to finish. But up here at the front are your 2 leaders and your 2 primary contenders in the championship fight, with Sunshine not anywhere close to the podium positions right now. Buffalo got the bonus points for taking home pole, but all these laps that he's running behind Lucky, he's denying his chance to get the bonus points for fastest clean lap. Again, we still have a large chunk of this race to go, still have about 80% of this race to go through yet, but every lap that Buffalo is held up behind Lucky, that's another lap taken away from his chance to try and run out and set the fastest clean lap of the day. NFL Racer gets by Ludicrous speed for the back, so the Chevrolet of Ludicrous having a little bit of struggles there. Shredder has broken his way back into the top 10 positions right now. Farther back, a fight for 6th here. MabeyRacing has gotten by Prius Killer at this moment. Prius is a machine that has a significant advantage in a straight line over the BMWs, but now that the BMW has gotten ahead of him, it's going to kill his momentum coming out of the corner, dealing with the aero wake. And while he'll get the draft on the straights here are not nearly long enough to properly let you facilitate a side-by-side run into a corner. Maybe drops the tire into the grass, though. This could be the chance that Prius was looking for. He comes up on Maybe. He's going to look to the outside as they come up into the corkscrew. Maybe slides just a little bit, trying to block Prius Killer. Prius hits the inside dirt and will kill all of his momentum in the process. Maybe really sideways coming out of the corkscrew this time. This is an inversion of the bow we see at the front of the field right now. Meanwhile, at the front of the field, as we're talking about it, here they come. I said front of the field. Thank you. Over the hill. Lucky and Scored. Nose to tail. Buffalo touches the inside curbing, shoots forward, but will end up compromising momentum coming out of the corner. Run down to turn number 3. Lucky has it. Scored again, hits the inside dirt just a little bit. Both these drivers, to my vision at least, seem to be struggling a bit with maximizing grip. Again, we look at the tire life. Buffalo's gone through about a quarter of his fuel tank right now, so on fuel, he should be able to make it on a single stop. For Lucky, who is at the front of the field, same distance when it comes to fuel, 26 and 27% tire wear in his fronts. For Scored Buffalo at his fronts is 25 and 27, so Buffalo may have a very small advantage when it comes to tire life, even running behind another car. This could be a very dangerous circumstance for Lucky because he only seems to have the advantage right now on track. when it comes to track position. In every other aspect, it seems that Scored Buffalo has the decisive advantage right now. And with the amount of speed that Buffalo is able to carry, I do believe, oh wow, Buffalo just dropped the tire into the dirt, and despite that, he still has enough momentum to come to the outside. Again, he'll try the crossover on Lucky coming out of the corner. Again, can't really make it because the GT3 cars are so wide. But the way it stands, the only way I see Lucky maintaining an advantage over Scored Buffalo is if they both come into the pits at the same time, and Lucky can outrun Scored coming out of the pit lane. And I'm going to be honest, I don't know how likely that is. This game has a little bit of a hiccup where the driver who starts first, the pole sitter, in this case, is Scored Buffalo, will have an advantage, though the car will be able to get down to pit lane speed and accelerate out of their box a little bit faster than everyone else. Oh, Buffalo got a little bit too aggressive, dropped tires into the outside grass there. Carries great momentum out of turn number 4, though, but Lucky is out-accelerating him down into turn 5. Now they come to the uphill corners once again. This is the widest we've seen this gap be for a little bit here. A little bit farther back in the field, though, here's some fighting going on that I don't think anyone was anticipating. This is Mr. Sunshine fighting with TJ and SRD Shredder. Shredder has gone from 13th up into 8th position, and now he has clean air ahead of him, as the Porsche of Sunshine is trying to keep that that Aston Martin of TJ behind him. TJ gets into the back of Sunshine, and it gets him all twisted sideways going through turn 5 as they run uphill here. We saw Shredder get by and outrun Sunshine at Road America and Watkins Glen earlier this season. And although it seems like in qualifying nothing's worked out for him in race, it seems like Shredder is able to make something happen. He has gained more positions than anyone else on track right now. Once again, we take a look at this fight for 3rd and 4th position, the last step on the podium, as really just a grand stalking battle. RZX U5 runs behind TNR Horizon. Now, this is not the same type of cars that we have in this fight for 1st or the fight for 5th. Horizon, if memory serves correctly, is in an Aston, and RZX is in the Chevrolet. Right? Aston, yeah. TNR Horizon is in the Aston. RZX is in the Chevrolet at the moment. RZX in the Chevrolet is supposed to have a significant advantage with acceleration out of the corners and just grip in the corners in general, but will be way slower in a straight line. And right now, when it comes down to a track position, seems to be the most important thing. Even here at this battle at the front, here comes Buffalo. He's looking at the outside. This is the best run he's had into the final corner all day long. Lucky's going to deny him, and again, Buffalo has to step out of it. They'll accelerate out of the corners, but Lucky is not going to be able to accelerate as far from Buffalo as he has normally been able to. Both their lines are compromised a bit. Under heavy braking into turn 1 again. Oh, turn 2 again. Buffalo really sideways. You can see him hanging the rear of that BMW out in the apex of the corner. Now accelerating down to turn 3. Run up to turn 4. Lucky drops the tire into the dirt, and that's going to kill his momentum. He still has the acceleration advantage, but Buffalo might be able to catch him under braking into 5. He does not. But this has brought Buffalo right up there behind Lucky as they come uphill again. Bit of a sideways moment from Buffalo. Lucky accelerates away from the BMW on the run up the hill. Now into the corkscrew again. Buffalo looking to really wide. Lucky just trying to take a nice straight line. They're both trying to cross each other over coming out of the corners. Buffalo was there briefly side by side, but Lucky has significant traction advantage out of the corner. Pulled away. Here comes Buffalo. He's right there, and in all of these slightly higher speed corners, Buffalo's advantage is really significant. Buffalo again looking at the outside as Lucky just barely dropped the tire into the dirt. Lucky trying to deny Buffalo the ideal line coming out of the corner. He works. Buffalo did have the outside line, but had to back way out of it. Pedal back, killed his momentum. Lucky holds the position still. MabeyRacing has completely fallen off from Rock Morrow, so only one BMW in the top 5 positions at the moment. Lucky hits that inside curb, kind of upsets the car just a bit. But on this little short straight, Lucky is still able to accelerate away from Buffalo, and that is the biggest strength he has right now. Once they get to a corner, once they come out of a corner, he's able to out-accelerate the BMW by enough, and Buffalo's strength seems to be in the corners and under braking. That seems to be where he gains the most. He really gains a lot coming out of the corkscrew. If Buffalo can have an absolutely perfect run through the corkscrew, I think there's a high likelihood that Buffalo could try and come on the outside through the final corner around LuckyVII. This is currently the most active battle on the track. There is the battle for third and the battle for sixth, which keeps going back and forth. Buffalo has a big sideways moment, twisting back and forth. And here they come. Buffalo is coming on the outside. Lucky's going to accelerate him into the final corner. Contact under braking. Buffalo backs way out. He's going to try and cross over against Lucky. They make a little bit of contact coming out. This is the best run that Buffalo's had. He is right there behind Lucky. Lucky is accelerating away, but Buffalo's close enough to have the draft off the Bentley. Now diving into turn two once again. The Bentley of Lucky is sideways under braking. Buffalo dives in, runs into the back of Lucky, trying to cause him to break traction. Now the BMW drops tires into the dirt. Will compromise his run out of turn two just a bit. They both don't have an ideal line to turn three. Lucky still has the position. Run down to turn number four this time. Lucky again drops a tire into the outside dirt, but will still accelerate away from Buffalo on the run down to turn five. Big lockup from scored Buffalo into five. Completely locked up the tires just a bit, and mainly in the back more than the front. Got completely shifted sideways. Will lose a chunk of time, but considering the pure speed that thing has, I think he can make it all back up in a corner or two. It could be a suggestion, though, that Buffalo's inability to get by LuckyVII is getting into his head, and that is exactly the thing that Lucky needs. Lucky, again, is trying to come back from missing the season-opening race at Bathurst. Scored Buffalo is trying to maintain his lead after losing a whole chunk of points last week at Watkins Glen from not being able to finish that race, a race that Lucky ended up winning. These have been the only two winners we have had all year this year. Buffalo now looks to the outside of Lucky, side by side again as they come to the final corner. Lucky is going to try and deny Buffalo the line out, but no, Buffalo is doing it. Buffalo is side by side with Lucky. It is a drag race as they come out of the final quarter. Lucky will pull ahead, again, straight line speed advantage, but Buffalo is closer now than he has been before. Diving into turn two once again under heavy braking. Buffalo is going to look to the outside. He's going to try and cross over and exit quicker than Lucky does. Lucky will deny it. Again, you can't make the crossover work with these cars around most of these tracks here. The GT3 car is just way too bloody wide. Buffalo tried it again in turn three, but Lucky had the ideal line that killed Buffalo's mid-corner momentum. And now as they accelerate, once again, Lucky's straight line speed advantage will let him pull away from Buffalo just a little bit. Into turn five again. No lockup from Buffalo this time. He stays right behind Lucky. Lucky immediately starts accelerating away from the BMW as they come uphill. Bit of a slide again from the BMW of Buffalo. I almost said the Buffalo BMW. That'd be hilarious. Under braking. Once again into the corkscrew. Neither driver having too much of an issue this time. Lucky is just a little bit sideways, putting the power down, but not enough to really compromise him. Coming out of there, though, Buffalo is so much faster. He plants his bumper right onto his front bumper, right onto Lucky's rear bumper, trying to push the Bentley just a little bit sideways. Run down to the final corner again. Buffalo outside, Lucky inside. Buffalo's going to be faster, but Lucky cuts him off, coming out of the corner once again. And again, we look at the tire wear, 42 and 44% for Buffalo. For our leader, it is 42 and 46%. This could be very bad news for Lucky because despite the fact that he's had clean air, he has spent so much time defending against scored Buffalo that he is actually burning up his tires more than Buffalo is. There is nothing that Buffalo has a disadvantage in except for on-track position, and that could very quickly fade away once they get to the first round of pit stops. Lucky absolutely needs scored Buffalo to make a big mistake, lose several seconds off track in the dirt. We're not quite to the 40% of the way mark of this race yet. We're not even close to halfway. We're only a little bit past. Wow, that got a little bit close there. Uphill once again. Buffalo within 20 feet. He maintains position in the draft. Now he's going to look way to the outside. Lucky is going to take a tighter entry. Buffalo is going to take a wider entry into the corner. And Lucky actually will accelerate away from Buffalo this time. Buffalo will close some of the time in the following 2 corners, but Lucky has a bit more of an advantage this time than he has the last few times. The duo take alternate lines to that final corner, but these GT3 cars are so large that Buffalo can't make the crossover work. If these cars were a little bit narrower side to side, maybe they could make it work, but it's just not happening. Especially considering that the BMW and the Bentley are 2 of the largest cars in terms of volume in the field. TJ now falls out of the top 10 back to 11th position. No drivers have made their first stops of the day yet. We've stayed green since the first lap of the event. Buffalo runs right behind Lucky still. Buffalo had pole position, and Buffalo needs to try and get the fastest in-race lap points, the bonus points they sign up for, and then also try to win the race so that way he can extend his championship lead. Lucky is, by the looks of it, his closest championship rival. Lucky needs to deny Buffalo any shot at winning this race in order to close in this championship points gap. And all season long, Buffalo's biggest weakness has been on starts and restarts. And Buffalo had the start position, the ideal line into turn 2 here at Laguna Seca. But he still lost the lead coming down to turn 3. It's just been a matter of trying to fight back since. That has been Buffalo's only serious weakness this season, outside of, again, missing qualifying at Sebring, caused him to start near the back of the field and had to come back up manually up to 4th position. And then again, obviously, at Watkins Glen, where he wasn't able to finish. But every event that Buffalo has been around the entire time and has not been compromised, he has won thus far this season. But his weaknesses have always been starts and restarts. It seems to take him about 2 laps to properly get up and going. Well, he's up and going now, but Lucky is denying him almost every corner here. This right now is the largest the gap has been between our leader and our second place driver all season long, all race long. And all race long is a bit of an exaggeration, but over the last 4 laps, I'd say. Problem is that Buffalo is just obviously so much faster than Lucky around the circuit here that it just sorta doesn't matter. Buffalo can lose time in one sector of the track, and then the very next sector will gain all of that time back and get right back behind Lucky. And at a circuit where tire wear is incredibly important, and controlling your car is incredibly important, both these drivers, I guarantee you, are absolutely exhausting each other. Lucky was really sideways out of the corkscrew, and Buffalo's coming around the outside. Is this the move that will net him the lead in this race? He's on the outside, side by side as they come down now into the next corner. Buffalo's got the position. Lucky's trying to cross over. That may have been the move. Lucky looks to the outside. Scored has the inside. Now it's an in versus a situation we've seen before, but Lucky has a better line out of the corner. Buffalo accelerated away. Lucky has a car that is faster in a straight line, but I don't know if he's going to be able to outrun Buffalo into turn number 2. He's coming around the outside. Buffalo inside. Lucky outside. Lucky has his nose ahead. Heavy under brake as they come into the corkscrew. This time, though, Buffalo squeezes wide. He's going to run Lucky nearly off the circuit. Lucky's not going to be happy with that. Buffalo squeezes Lucky off the circuit again, coming out of turn number 2. And now into turn 3. Lucky is going to lose a chunk of time. That's it. The race is over. The championship might as well be over as well, because Buffalo has such a massive advantage, 7/10 of a second over Lucky, that it's likely that there's nothing going to happen that Lucky can do. The race for this win, and more than likely the race for the championship, is over. Already, Lucky has, it's not even been a full lap, and Lucky is already more than a second behind Buffalo. And unless Buffalo makes a big mistake in the next few corners, this is it. Now, we see Lucky able to run down Buffalo into straight lines without issue. He gets right behind the BMW under braking into the corkscrew, but can't do anything about it. Buffalo has such a significant advantage in the 2 corners right after the corkscrew, where aerodynamics is incredibly important. He pulls away from Lucky by a ludicrous amount. The gap is well over 100 feet, probably closer to 120 feet. Buffalo dropped his tires into the outside dirt and still is pulling away from Lucky. And he actually maintains the gap under braking out of the final corner. Lucky can just barely sniff the draft off of scored Buffalo as they come down the straight. The big thing that Lucky needs to focus on now, if he can't win the race, he needs to at least stay right behind Buffalo and make sure that Buffalo is not able to take home the points for fastest lap. Buffalo had a bit of a hiccup under braking going into the corkscrew. Here comes Lucky. He dives. He made the move, but could not make it stick. Buffalo's superior traction let him pull away, but Lucky has pulled the fight back. He says that he is not done with this fight for the win. win or the championship yet as they run down now into turn number 4. Buffalo will have an advantage in the corner, but then the straight right afterwards, the advantage will go back to Lucky in theory. He's got the draft, but you don't really get a whole lot of speed in this straight. He closes the gap back down to within 60 feet before they get under braking. Buffalo easily opens the gap up in the corner. Lucky maintains the straight. But here's the biggest problem, though. Lucky is already dealing with worse tire wear than Buffalo, running in front in clean air. But now, here they come. Buffalo had a bad run. Here comes Lucky to the outside. Side by side as they come up into the corkscrew. There's a little bit of contact. Lucky sideways coming out of the corkscrew, trying to do everything he can to maximize his straight line speed advantage. But the biggest problem for Lucky is that now he is running behind the BMW. He is going to be dealing with aero wake. Buffalo is completely sideways. He's not able to pull away from Lucky. Lucky is not letting Buffalo get away easily. Buffalo seems to be struggling just a little bit with maintaining grip. Lucky does not seem to be having as much of an issue. When Buffalo hooks the corner up right, he's able to pull away from Lucky, no problem. But now with Buffalo out in front, I have to wonder if maybe being in clean air and being on the defense instead of the offense has caused him to mistake and make small mistakes trying to maintain a proper line through these corners. He doesn't have the proper point of reference. He's basically trying to run a slightly different variant of the track now, going from offense mode, running in someone's aero wake, to defense mode, trying to push his aero wake over the driver behind him. Great acceleration out of turn 4 by Buffalo. Incredible acceleration out of turn 4 by Buffalo. Lucky can't even do anything to close that gap down. Lucky has a tighter, smoother line in 5. We saw last lap he was able to nearly outrun Buffalo uphill, but this time Lucky drops a tire into the dirt, and that will not be the case. Into the corkscrew once again now. BMW dropped a tire into the dirt there, and so did Lucky. Oh, big lockup under braking from Buffalo. He's going to lose a huge chunk of time coming out the final corner, and Lucky is right there. Lucky seems to be minimizing his mistakes a bit better against Buffalo, and is keeping your race leader right now from pulling away. Lucky gets right there behind Buffalo. He needs Buffalo to have a mistake into the braking. Buffalo had a mistake into the braking. He runs wide. Here comes Lucky. This is the closest Lucky's been able to fight back. They're side by side coming out of the hairpin again. Buffalo is going to try and outrun Lucky. This is where Lucky got by Buffalo on lap 1, but this time Buffalo hip checks Lucky and won't let him by this time. A very active fight at the front of the field here. Come on, game. Please don't do this to us. We may have had our first lag out of the day's event, as somebody has entered pit lane. Likely Sunshine, considering we know that Sunshine likes to make his stop as early as possible. Yes, Mr. Sunshine making his first stop a little bit before the halfway point of this race. And TJ, as the driver, has dropped out, and Lucky slides off circuit farther back. Well, it seems like it's all falling apart now in these last few laps before what we anticipate will be green flag stops. The gap has opened up significantly now between first and second. And if it stays open like this, Buffalo should very easily be able to set that fastest lap point that he was those fastest lap bonus points that he was going for. Most of the other fights have pretty much passed over. The question now is going to be how many drivers can actually maintain position before and after pit stops, because tire wear is going to be incredibly problematic at this stage in the event. Looking at the tire life right now, 61 and 66% for Lucky. For Buffalo, who's had a lot more lockups, but he's now in clean air, 61 and 64%. So yes, Buffalo has a very significant advantage in tire life. It may only seem like 2% now, but that 2% might turn into 3 or maybe even 4% by the time that these drivers have to make their stop. Not to mention, we're almost at the halfway point of this race, and at the halfway point of this race, I think that's going to be where everything comes down to. We're anticipating that Buffalo should have a faster in and out lap than Lucky will, just due to where his pit stop is. If Buffalo doesn't have any issues with the tires completely falling off a cliff, or having issues with getting his tires to temp, this should be his race over. The only good news for Lucky is that there is traffic ahead. TFB Matter is in 12th position, and at the rate they are running, Buffalo is going to catch Matter soon. And if Matter ends up pulling up Buffalo, that could let Lucky have one more shot at this. Otherwise, the gap has opened up enough. 1.25 seconds between first and second. That may just as well be over. Run down to the final corner again. Neither of our leaders will pit this lap. So they'll bring an end to the 24th racing lap today. The thing I'm going to be most interested about is going to be Mr. Sunshine. Sunshine, this entire season, has made the undercut work. He'll pit earlier than everybody else. Now, it's been very close. It's been very difficult for him, but he has been able to make that strategy work. But he's really going to be pushing an aggressive amount of pressure on his front tires, though, near the very end of the race. So more than likely, this race for the win is going to be decided well before that point, and we'll likely be focusing on Sunshine by the end. Sunshine right now is in clean air, 11 seconds behind ludicrous speed at the moment. I'm very interested to see what he'll be able to do. Driver in the pit lane right now, that is Prius Killer, who had been fighting with the likes of MabeyRacing, SRD Shredder, and Rockmar earlier in the event. Oh, big sideways moment for Scored Buffalo as they come out of turn 5 that time. But Lucky is still losing time. Even with Scored Buffalo having these big incidents and big wiggles, Lucky, well, actually, I take that back. Lucky's closing back in. He's back within 9/10s, now within 8/10s. He is just within drafting range of Scored Buffalo, but they come down into the hairpin. Both drivers gun into the inside dirt. I'll compromise both their lines. Lucky is trying to do everything he can to make sure that Scored's lap times are dirtied here to prevent Scored from having clean laps and setting the fastest lap of the race. Again, Buffalo drops tires into the outside dirt. Out of the final corner, Buffalo hits the inside curb a little bit too aggressively, but it looked like Lucky may have had a bit of a problem as well. This has basically been the most active fight all day long. And speaking of active fight, here we come. RZX U5 is going to pit earlier. No, RZX is going to stay out, and TNR Horizon is the driver that will pit earlier in their fight. And in the same vein, Rockmar is actually going to stay out, while it ends up being MabeyRacing who is going to pit early instead. So there we are. We are now seeing drivers who are not our leaders going ahead and having a bit of a fight between each other. Ludicrous speed. Now he makes his stop, and we anticipate that Mr. Sunshine should be able to leapfrog him in the process. NFL Racer just ahead of MabeyRacing. NFL Racer has not yet made his stop today. SRD Shredder, similar position. He has not yet made his stop, I believe. And his tires are very nearly cooked. I think Shredder has no choice. He's going to have to pit this lap. One of our leaders, Scored Buffalo, opening the gap away from LuckyVII. This is the biggest the gap has been. This might be it. Buffalo might be able to set that fastest lap point they need now. It's at 1.1 seconds. Third place, RZX, is now pitting behind them. It'd be absolutely hilarious if we had a yellow flag and this duo, Scored and Lucky, ended up being cycled to the back of the grid while everyone who's already pitted would go to the front. But considering how spread out the field is, I don't think we're going to have a yellow flag here. Scored Buffalo now coming up on TFB Matter. Closing on Matter at a very significant rate. Shredder making his stop. He was barely able to make it into the pits. The question is going to be TNR Horizon and RZX. Horizon's pitted a lap earlier. RZX accelerated out of the pit lane. I think RZX has it. Here comes TNR Horizon with a huge head of steam into turn 2. But RZX has the position. Now RZX needs to get his tires warmed up before they get into turn 3. But if he does so, I think RZX will actually have this position by making his stop a lap later. Oh, Horizon all sideways. Scored Buffalo, meanwhile, has caught traffic ahead. This could be problematic. Lucky has fallen off, but Scored Buffalo is not going to be able to set that cleanest lap of the race here. He runs behind TFB Matter, does not seem to be able to do anything with them. Now Matter pits, and Buffalo stays out another lap. Now that closeness that Buffalo had on Matter is going to automatically dirty this lap as well. So another lap where Buffalo is not going to be able to set his fastest lap point, but he has significantly opened the gap against the rest of the field right now, and his gap over second position is enough that Lucky is not able to do anything to compromise Gord Buffalo's runs here. Looking at tire life, every driver except for our leaders have made their stops. 72 and 75% for Scored Buffalo right now. He could probably stay out the rest of this lap and maybe make it one more lap. But for the driver behind him, LuckyVII, I don't think this is the case. I think Lucky, who's at 73 and 78% and is now dealing with aero wash, I think Lucky has no choice. He'll have to pit this lap. Scored Buffalo could probably make it one more circuit if he wants to. A yellow flag would be the biggest upset right now, but I don't think we're going to have a yellow flag. And with that in mind, Buffalo, when he makes his stop, will likely, by default, guarantee himself this race-winning position, will extend his championship lead. In fact, I'm going to be honest, if Buffalo wins this race, I think this championship fight is over. Buffalo will stay out another lap. Lucky is going to pit. So Buffalo, now he is at the biggest pressure he's been all race long. He has not pitted thus far, and if a yellow flag was to happen, he would cycle to the rear of the field, and that would destroy his championship hopes. Well, maybe not destroy him, but it would definitely put a kink in his championship hopes. But again, the field is so spread out, I don't think a yellow is going to happen. Looking at the tire life again of Scored Buffalo. Front tires are at 78 and 74.5%. He should be able to make it to this lap without too much issue. And the more scary thing about this is that Buffalo, being the last person to pit, he is going to have a significant advantage when it comes to his tire life for the rest of this race. So even if Lucky has a nice and smooth run in and out of the pits, it doesn't matter. He is going to be at a disadvantage when it comes to tire life to the end of this race. Scored Buffalo at 79 and 75.2% on his front tire life as he comes up to the top of the hill. Heavy under braking now, and starts bringing it back downhill once again. Most of the other positions on track have basically stabilized. And Buffalo can actually see ludicrous speed ahead, but he is going to pit this lap. And this is going to be where it all comes down to. We anticipate Buffalo will have a faster in and out lap than Lucky, and he already was ahead of Lucky by a significant amount before the stop was made. This is going to be where it comes down to. Already Buffalo is out of his pit box. Lucky is just now come out of the second to last corner. I'm going to be honest, I don't see any way that this happens. Buffalo thus far has set the best lap of the race today. I don't believe that's under clean circumstances here. All right, here comes Lucky. He's accelerating up. Buffalo's already out of pit lane, though. Lucky cannot close enough. In fact, the gap, as we anticipated, is opened up. So this race is over. Buffalo is going to win this event by default, and I have to wonder again if there's going to be a rebalancing done to these cars, because outside Buffalo's weakness on restarts, that car has such a significant advantage over everybody else. There is nothing that you can do to keep him behind. So one interesting battle to keep note of, Mr. Sunshine is running in completely clean air right now. He pitted well before everybody else, so his tires are going to be at some of the worst that they've been all day long. He is fighting to hold on to 9th position, and I hate to say it, any championship hope that Sunshine had is basically over now. Similar circumstances between Rock, well, not similar, but different circumstances between Rockmaro and MabeyRacing right now. Rock is currently running in this Bentley 90%, 10% in the front tires. MabeyRacing, who is right behind him, is at 12%, 87% fuel. So Mabey actually pitted earlier than Rock, and despite that is behind Rock. So right now I think Rock has the advantage. It seems to me that pitting later, the overcut, has been more significant than the undercut and is more advantageous today. Then you have this fight here, similar circumstance. RZX stayed out a lap longer than TNR Horizon and ended up ahead of Horizon. And it does not seem that Horizon has anything he can do against RZX, who's in 3rd position right now. 7th place is Prius Killer. 8th place is SRD Shredder. Shredder started dead last, but he has gained more positions than anybody else thus far today. Prius Killer at 17% tire life right now. SRD Shredder, who's right in 8th place behind him, at 13%. So right now, Shredder actually has an advantage in tire life over the driver directly in front of him on the track. And again, Sunshine's going to be the wild card to watch. NFL racer trying to hold on to another 10th position. Ludicrous speed. Horrible, horrible run. He had high expectations for today's race because the Chevrolets are anticipated to be very strong here. But he is last on the lead lap. And at the rate this race is going, he will go a lap down to score Buffalo before the event is over. So we've watched this stalking battle for 3rd position. RZX runs ahead of TNR Horizon. What we're going to do is we're going to ride silently for 1 lap on board with TNR Horizon, see what a flying lap looks like here in this Aston Martin around Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca here in these GT3 cars. We're going to go silent for a lap as we do so. Alright, so as you can see, this duo now coming up onto lap traffic in the form of TFB Matter, who's already 1 lap down. This is the closest thing we have to a battle on track at this stage in the race. Lucky has fallen more than 3.5 seconds away from Score Buffalo. If anything, I'm more surprised that that gap for 1st and 2nd hasn't opened up even quicker. Again, in qualifying, the final best lap times that both been put, Buffalo was 7/10 second a lap faster than Lucky, but the gap has not been opening at nearly that rate. So credit where credit is due. Lucky is doing his best to try and hold on, but Buffalo has enough of an advantage that unless Buffalo has a complete failure, such as a controller disconnect or something, Buffalo's going to win this race by default. Oh boy, U5 really held up behind Matter this time by. I don't think it's Matter's trying to be a pain in the or anything. He's just holding his normal line, and Laguna Seca is a circuit that really only has one racing line out of the majority of it. Now Matter actually slid off circuit there. Here comes Horizon. Horizon has to figure out a way by Matter as quickly as possible. Matter will break early and let Horizon by. The gap doesn't really close by that much between this duo. That was definitely a heart-in-the-throat moment for Horizon, seeing Matter slide off circuit. Didn't know how aggressively Matter was going to cut back on the track. And although Matter cut back on the track in a very respectful way, he was right there and very nearly denied Horizon a good run through the following corner. Credit to Matter for keeping it all clean, and now Horizon blows the corkscrew this time and still loses time to her leader. So the undercut has been a very problematic move today. The drivers in battles that pitted later have been in the better position. And I look right now at this man here, Sunshine, who made the biggest undercut at all. What are his tires going to look like by the end of this race? Horizon has closed back up behind U5. At turn 3 and under the Continental Bridge again. Again, RZX U5 is in a car that should have great grip through the corner and initially out, but the Chevrolet, as far as we've heard, is significantly underpowered compared to everybody else. Despite that, RZX is actually able to open the gap just a bit until, well, no, this time it looks like the gap's closed just a bit in that corner, and now into the corkscrew once again. Great run out by RZX. But the gap has closed just a bit more. Oh, and he dropped the tire into the dirt. I don't think there was enough to harm him. And in the end, all corners and straights added together, it looks like RZX will actually lose time to TNR Horizon here as they come up to the start-finish line. In fact, here comes Horizon now closing in the draft on the run down to turn 2. Heavy under brakes. RZX did not have a good run through 3. Way better through 4 for him that time, though. And he'll actually start opening the gap once again. Your little drone cam here. Ooh, just barely dropped the tire into the dirt that time. Not enough to really hold him up. Oh, but that one will. Boy, that was a big slide into the dirt there. Coming out of the second to last corner for U5, and you can see the shadow of TNR Horizon right behind. If Horizon's going to have any chance at running down U5 into turn 2, this will be it. Here it comes. Horizon, the inside of U5. Neck and neck, Horizon has the position. Under braking now. Crossover attempt. U5 dives to the inside of Horizon. Will squeeze Horizon just a little bit wide. Horizon squeezes back as they come out of the corner. Superior grip by the Chevrolet. Superior speed by Horizon. And here it comes. Still side by side. Neck and neck for a position. Horizon inside in the following corner. U5 runs wide. Drops tires in the dirt. He's got the run out of the corner, but Horizon will have the straight line speed down to turn 5. Under braking, neither of them have an ideal line into the corner. Oh, but Horizon has a better run coming out. The straight line speed advantage will let him pull ahead, and Horizon gets by U5. We did not expect that to happen. U5 is better coming out of 6th, though. Coming uphill, U5 has the draft off of Horizon up into the corkscrew here. Under heavy braking. Horizon sideways. U5 outside. Horizon inside. Horizon just barely puts his car ahead, drops tires into the dirt. U5 now comes around outside in the right-hander. Oh, Horizon's all sideways, all twitched up. U5 outside. Horizon shuts the door at the last possible moment. And Horizon has the position. U5 has the draft, but Horizon, with superior straight line speed, is going to start opening the gap against the Chevrolet now. Big slide by Horizon under braking though, and RZX U5 sucks right back in turn 2. Credit where credit is due, Lucky has stabilized the gap to Buffalo at 3.4 seconds. But has not been able to do anything to put any pressure on Buffalo, and will likely signify the end of the championship battle here. Another lag out potentially. Who may have dropped out now? What? Who dropped out? Oh, it was RZX! No! The man who was having such an incredible fight for 3rd position! And he's out! So that drops us down to 11 cars left in the race, only 10 of them on the lead lap. And this guarantees Horizon a 3rd position. The gap between himself and Rock and Mabey, who are fighting for 4th and 5th, is just massive. So this fight for 4th now becomes the most active battle on track. And coming into the party right now is RZX U5. U5, go ahead, include your audio. You are having a fantastic run, but you will not make it to the end of the race. What happened out there? Let me check the stream and make sure it's possible for you to include your audio. It should be, but...
It was. My bad. I was still hearing the Discord chat.
Ah, okay.
That's how weirdly my disconnection was. But... disconnected, so a little poopy about it, but I was having a great race there with Horizon until that happened. And yeah, I don't know what much more to say. That just came out of random, like instantly. It came out of nowhere. Within 5 seconds, I saw a huge lag spike, and next thing you know, I was disconnected.
Travesty to see this happen after you got a podium 2 weeks ago at Road America. You were fighting for a podium here. What are your anticipations next week when the series goes to another tire-focused circuit at Suzuka?
Still try to find some acceleration in this car. That's what kills me. That was my big issue racing Horizon today, was as much as I could gain everywhere else, as long as there's a decently sized straightaway, any car that accelerates is gonna outduel that Chevy.
Alright, well, as we know, Suzuka has 2 very significant straightaways, so that could end up being a problem. Hopefully you can make things work out somewhat positive for you. Thanks for jumping in and talking with us, but it's a shame to be talking to you so early in the day.
Yeah, especially since we were coming down to, like, what, 15 to go?
Yeah, we're about 15 to go, yep.
Just unfortunate, but yeah, I'll be here next week.
Alright, thanks for jumping in and talking with us, mate. Alright, as we look back at the front, Scored Buffalo continues to lead at the moment. He's going to go around the outside of Ludicrous Speed. So Ludicrous will now go a lap down. So Chevy had a lot of hopes, a lot of confidence coming into this race, but it's all falling apart. One Chevy out of the race, another Chevy a lap down. And the gap between first and second massively, massively opened up in these last few laps here. I think Lucky is just trying to conserve his tires to the end. He did pit earlier than Buffalo. And this has become a race where the overcut ended up having a significant advantage. 3rd place is basically TNR Horizons by default. He just outlasted RZX. He will walk home with another podium, but with Lucky and Buffalo being your top 2, Horizon is going to start fading out of the championship picture. 4th place here is Rockmaro, holding a respectable gap over MabeyRacing for right now. 6th place is Prius Killer, 7th place is SRD Shredder. This could end up being an interesting battle here, because Shredder has been burning through his tires rapidly today, but Shredder is faster than everyone else ahead. Shredder, honestly, has been the only driver who has been able to make multiple overtakes on multiple drivers over the course of the day. 6th position might be in the cards for him. I think tire life is going to be what it comes down to here. 46.7% for Shredder, 46.8% for Prius. So these two are pretty even on tire life right now. Prius, in that scenario, should have an advantage with his tires, but this is not over. We could see a fight for 6th coming down to it here. 8th place now is Mr. Sunshine after that lag up by U5. But the thing for Sunshine is that NFL Racer is behind. And NFL Racer is not going to be struggling with his tire life nearly as much as Sunshine is. So as this race comes down to it, Sunshine is going to be in for the fight of his life, just like he was at Road America. And ludicrous speed, a lap down in 10th position right now. I just want to call out the BMWs. We know that one of the big advantages that Shredder has right now is that these BMWs are borderline bulletproof, it would appear. Drivers are taking these BMWs to finishes that they themselves, you wouldn't think, would be able to pull out. But honestly, Shredder has been doing a great job maximizing at track where you should not be able to make overtakes at. Shredder has gone from 13th up into 7th, would be 8th on merit. U5 has dropped out, but Shredder has overtaken everybody behind him except for U5, who just lagged out, and Shredder may still be on track to make up one extra position here. This is a career-defining drive from the BMW driver. And yes, we know the BMWs are way overpowered. The BOP, for whatever reason, is significantly stacked in favor of the BMWs, but you saw how long it took for Buffalo to make an overtake stick on Lucky, a driver he was 0.7 of a second faster than. Shredder is making overtakes way faster than everyone else. He's making an overtake roughly once every 10 laps. Yeah, roughly once every 9 laps right now, I believe. And if he can catch Prius, he might be able to drop it to about once every 8 laps. I don't know if he's going to be able to overtake Prius. He's caught Prius, but actually overtaking him is going to be a different scenario here. Lucky has now fallen more than 5 seconds out from Buffalo. I think now he's just trying to preserve his tires. It's 9 laps to go at the moment. And check this out. NFL Racer has caught Mr. Sunshine, and Sunshine, who desperately needs to just preserve his tires, is in the struggle bus mode. He made the biggest undercut at all, and the undercut has served him very well for the rest of the season, but this race today, the overcut has been keen, and Sunshine's commitment to an undercut early has really hurt him. He's only 8th right now, would have been 9th if not for U5's dropout. And there is a risk that not only could he lose a position in NFL Racer here, he might also fall a lap down if his tires fade away. As these two are entering the final corner now, your leader Buffalo is on the run down to the second to last corner. And Sunshine's only going to continue to get slower as this race goes on. We look at the tire wear on Sunshine's car. 54.9%, so he may have just enough rubber to make it to the end, but he is struggling. This fight for 7th has really opened up because they are now held up by TFB Matter, a lap down, and Matter is going to deny Prius and Shredder an ideal line into the corkscrew. This could get problematic. Here it comes! Side by side, and Shredder gets right into Prius's rear end. Prius is now by Matter. Shredder has to get by Matter cleanly here. Matter drops tires into the dirt. and Shredder will get around him on the outside. Well, if that wasn't a wake-up call for Prius, I don't know what was. This fight is on. And Shredder at a circuit where he is anticipated to be at his weakest, a circuit that his tires would be dying at. He is making more moves and more overtakes than anyone else in the field, trying to get a 6th position here after starting dead last. It's going to be clean track ahead for this duo to the end of the race. So Shredder is going to get by Prius. He's going to have to do it by driver ability or by having Prius make a big mistake. And again, this duo will have to watch their tires to the end here. But I think that even if Shredder can't catch and overtake Prius, even if he starts losing time, I would say right now Shredder easily is driver of the day material. Dead last, seconds off of the next slowest person in qualifying. But he is projected forward, and yes, he's in a way overpowered car, but he is the only driver making moves on track, and other drivers in the BMW are not able to do what this man has done today. Rockmaro has pulled away from MabeyRacing. That fight is believed to be over. There's also this fight here as well for 8th position. And as the leader continues to close, NFL Racer, who is also in a BMW, is stalking Sunshine around the circuit here. Sunshine desperately trying to keep those tires under him as this race comes to its end. Oh, very nearly hit that Porsche in the rear. And now accelerating up into turn 1. And it looks like NFL Racer has the run. This is the first time we're going to probably see a BMW maybe outrun another car into a corner. He looks to the outside, Sunshine inside. Way better run for NFL Racer, maybe too good. He looked like he may have hit the inside dirt there. Oh, an NFL Racer into the dirt, and that's going to kill his chance at trying to get Sunshine here. Meanwhile, the fight for 6 is still on. Prius versus Shredder. Prius really wide there. BMW has a really, really good job maintaining cornering speed. But Prius is able to out-accelerate the BMW in a straight line. Basically, every other battle on track is over. Unless Sunshine has a complete catastrophic failure with his tires here near the end of this race. Not the greatest run there through turn 5 for Shredder. And dropped the tire into the dirt in 6, so now Prius is starting to pull away from him. Again, I think more than anything else, Shredder needs Prius to make a gigantic mistake here. He straight-lined the corkscrew as much as he could that time by. And that pulled him right up behind Prius once again. He's there. Does he go inside? Does he go outside? He does neither. Actually had a better run out of the final corner than Prius did. And while Prius will have the draft to pull away from Shredder, Prius has the straight line speed. Shredder has the draft to negate Prius's advantage just a bit. Oh, wow, Shredder had a great run out of 4 that time. 2.5. I don't think Shredder is going to make a move here. Bit of a slide from the BMW. We're looking at 4 laps to go right now. Nose to tail. Oh, big slide by Shredder. Had a great momentum and lost it all as the rear slid out from underneath him. Prius hit the dirt there. Not a great run. Here comes Shredder. He looks to the outside. How aggressively does he push the outside? There's neck and neck. Shredder gets the nose ahead for just the briefest of moments, accelerating out. Prius has the advantage in acceleration, but Shredder is there. Prius can outrun Shredder into every corner, but Shredder seems to be so much smoother and so much quicker through these corners. It's now 3 laps to go. NFL Racer is also right back behind Sunshine again. So BMW's trying to put pressure on cars ahead, and in this fight for 8th and 9th, there's a different scenario at play because your leader is about to catch this duo. And trying to overtake both of them, that would be the only chance I think Lucky would have of catching them. If Buffalo ends up being compromised by NFL Racer and Sunshine so much that he's run off the circuit or something, Lucky may have a shot at this. But with the gap being, I think, more than 5 seconds at this stage in the race, I don't know if that's going to happen. It's not quite 5 seconds, about 4 3/4, but still. Again, we look at this fight for 6th and 7th, though. They're side by side again as they come out of the final corner. Again, the Bentley has a straight line speed advantage, but again, the BMW will have advantage under braking. They have a lag spike there. Sunshine still holds position. Oh, and he's gone around! He's lost it in the final corner! And Sunshine's lost it in the final corner! And Sunshine loses it, sent way too much momentum into the final corner. He will go a lap down, and NFL Racer will walk out of here in 8th. The fight for the win is, this fight for 7th is not over, although that pretty much does guarantee the fight for the win is done for. Shredder trying to set up something against Prius. He's way faster around the lap, but Prius has just enough straight line speed to deny the BMW the run. He needs Prius to make a big mistake, but time is running out for Prius to make that mistake for Shredder to capitalize on. These corners have been the section where Shredder has been way better than Prius at, but this time he drops tires in the dirt and kills part of his momentum. He's still able to pull up behind the Bentley in the corners, not close enough to go side by side coming onto the front stretch this time. And this duo will have one more lap left here. Final time out of the hairpin. Shredder is not very close to the Bentley. If anything, I think the Bentley has just enough of a gap that even if he makes a small mistake, I don't think there's anything that Shredder will be able to do to get by him. He's able to outrun Shredder into these corners without issue. Oh, big hit! He hit the curb! He hit the curb, and now here comes Shredder! The fight's alive! They're within 30 feet of each other on the run down to turn 5. Shredder dives deep. He gets by Prius going through the corner. He'll complete the move. Shredder goes ahead of Prius. Big hiccup by Prius in 4. Now he goes to the inside in 6. You don't want to go side by side through these corners, and they're both going to go off. They're both going to go off. Shredder gets onto the circuit sooner, but Prius was on the throttle earlier. Well, Shredder's move was daring, but Prius's move was just kind of stupid, honestly. But that stupid move, I think, is going to be enough. I think Prius is going to hold it. All right, so this is the last lap for this duo. We are in the middle of the last lap for our leaders. He's coming out of the corkscrew now. And it looks like, again, we'll go back-to-back races without a yellow flag. So that's great news, great stuff to hear. Gap's wide open. If Prius makes the same mistake he did last time, though, Shredder will close it down. He does not. Prius is nice and clean through 4 this time by. So there's no chance for Shredder to try and outrun Prius into turn 5 like last time. Your race is over. Your winner, unsurprisingly, is Scored Buffalo. This is the only battle for position left to watch here on the circuit. And there it is. That's going to be it, because Shredder drops tires in the dirt, and that will open the gap even farther. But I don't care what anyone says. Shredder, the only man able to make overtakes throughout the field over more than just one car, that would definitely make Shredder driver of the day. He's not done yet, though. He's trying desperately through the last 3 corners. They're side by side again. Prius has the advantage, though. He gives Shredder a bit of a hip check through the corner. Shredder is there. He's going to try and outrun Prius into the corner. Side by side into the last corner. They make contact. He pushes Prius wide. They're sideways. Shredder is all sorts of sideways. Prius will out-accelerate him and to the line for 6th position. Prius will get it. Shredder just can't quite get it there. 5th place was Mabey, 4th was Rock, 3rd was TNR Horizon, as we anticipated. 8th will be NFL Racer, who will actually end up finishing just barely on the lead lap. 9th will be Mr. Sunshine, 10th will be Ludicrous Speed, 11th will be TFB Matter. And there's your race winner there, Scored Buffalo. Should be seeing the end of our race any moment here. Like to be able to try and get some word in from our race winners here. All right, coming to the party, we're going to go ahead and start with our 3rd place finisher to begin with, TNR Horizon. Horizon, go ahead, include your audio. You seem to have a very spirited fight through about 2/3 of this race, but in the end, you lasted, your rival did not, and you come home with another podium finish. What do you have to say about your run today, Horizon?
Yeah, just same old, you know, starting 3rd or 4th around that area, finishing there. MVP did have good pace today. I mean, I kind of expected that, just the track combo, car combo, that he'd be a little bit closer. I don't know if you got it, but when we were going through the pits, for whatever reason, he gained like 2 seconds through the pits. I don't know what the fuck happened, but yeah, it was just a good race. He races clean. He doesn't push you off the track. He knows, I mean, he knows what he's doing. He's always fun to race against. He has the pace, so just unfortunate more for him than me. My race after he left was just cruising.
All right, so great run here. Next week is going to be Suzuka, if I understand correctly. Suzuka is a circuit a little bit similar to this, very downforce focused. What do you think your anticipations are for yourself next week?
I want to finish 3rd again. I mean, there is a lot of downforce on the track, but there is also just enough of a straightaway where I think I can balance that out a little bit more than this track. I don't know. We'll see. I think it'll be a little bit kind of like how Road America was, where MVP was kind of there, and I was about 5-6 seconds ahead of him pretty much the whole race. This track just being as short as it is and as compact as it is, that Corvette was a little bit more punchier than it usually is.
All right, well, thanks for jumping in. Great job on another 3rd place finish, mate. Now I want to go ahead and talk with our 2nd place finisher, LuckyVII. Lucky started second, finished second. In any other circumstance, this would be a great time. But for all intents and purposes, the gap in the championship massively opens up even more. What do you have to say about your run today?
All right. I mean, me catching and scored in the points is just not going to happen unless if you miss the race or whatever, because I missed the first week. But otherwise, yeah, it was decent. Was able to hold a scored for a while, but he was able to make a nice move on the outside, and I just forgot how to drive for too long.
All right, so the Indian question that I have, do you think that this should end up being a nerf brought to the BMWs? All day today, there was no period in which the Bentley, the Aston, or any other car had an advantage over the BMW. If it wasn't on-track position, in tire wear they were superior, in fuel consumption they were superior, lap times they were superior. Do you believe that the BMW needs to have a nerf before the season continues?
No, I don't think so. If I didn't if I didn't let score to get to my side to my outside there, I don't think that he could have got around me. He was faster through through the handling bits and whatever, but as soon as we got to a straight, I pulled away, and if I didn't have him make any mistakes, he would have never I don't think he would have passed me, just because of one, it's just so hard to pass on this track. There's one or two spots that you can, and going into both of those spots that you can pass, I was better going into there, so. But good on him for making it work.
All right, well, thanks for jumping in and talking with us, Lucky. Still, after 4 races that you started out, you've won half of them, so those are still pretty good sets that you have thus far in the season. Now I want to go ahead and talk with our pole sitter and race winner and the man who brought home all the bonus points he signed up for, scored Buffalo. Buffalo, go ahead and include your audio. Great job maximizing your points haul today. You're going to negate pretty much any points that you left on the table last week at Road America by bringing home those extra 20 or so points today. What do you have to say about your run?
Today was pretty good. The car felt pretty nice. I kind of expected from the beginning. I just expected Lucky to get away, like in front of me right away at the start because of the Bentley. It's just like a straight line menace. So that was my first worry. But I just catched up just so much in the corner. So I was like, if I was able to do something after the corkscrew, then that's like my only chance, and luckily that happened. So after that, I just needed to not try and make mistakes and just run my race.
All right, well, you ended up getting the lead pretty early on. Also, very unexpected circumstance. Most of the season, the undercut has been the strongest, but today, the overcut was the biggest advantage, and you made the biggest overcut at all. That 4-second advantage you had on track, or at least 4 seconds when I saw it last before the checkered flag, you made most of that time up in the overcut. Was that a strategic plan to just bring the first set of tires as long as possible, or did it just happen to work out that way?
It just happened to work out that way. I just saw that even on I believe I was at 76% tires, I was still able to pull 24 fours. So I was like, I'm pulling on Lucky a little bit, so I'll try and stay out until he pits. So I mean, it just happened to work out that way.
All right, well, mate, fantastic drive out there. Another victory. Now I've got to be very honest here. It's going to be kind of a harsh question, but do you think there's any reason that the BMW should be nerfed, considering that the BMW has been able to outperform every other car, basically every race this season except one? Do you think that a nerf should be coming for the BMW?
I don't really think so. I mean, even here, Lucky wasn't that far behind me. You know, we're just separated by a few hundreds. I think. Okay, so I think with wherever everyone has kind of placed right now is kind of where their pace is at. But at the same time, you know, I get where that question is coming from. But yeah, I don't think a nerf will be quite fair for everyone in the BMW. Because even here, um, if the BMW was nerfed before here, I don't think I would have had the same pace as Lucky.
All right. Well, I appreciate your blunt honesty. One last question, then I'll let you go. Next week is Suzuka, a circuit that is similar but not nearly the same as this circuit. What are your anticipations there? Another easy win?
Um, it could be. I mean, I'm not sure. You just have to wait and see. I think the M6 would handle pretty well there compared to the other cars, but I mean, there's still lots of straight lines that more acceleration based cars like the Bentley or the Aston can capitalize on. But we'll just have to wait and see. I like the track, so.
All right. Well, thanks for jumping in, talking with us. Basically, looks like you have the championship locked up. Now, the question is going to be, what is going to be your race win percentage by the end of the season? Great job out there. I want to go ahead and talk with our 5th place finisher real quickly, MabeyRacing. Maybe, very interesting day for you. You spent a lot of time fighting with Rock Mario and Prius Killer, but as the day went on, you just kind of fell in a by-yourself position, not really able to do anything. What do you have to say about your run today?
Yeah, I had a good run. Unfortunately, it's impossible to pass a Bentley. It has so much acceleration, it just pulls away on any form of straight line. So you get ahead of it, and it's 100 feet ahead of you by the next corner. It's part of the race, though. It's the advantage the Bentley has. BMW has a little bit of cornering over it. Just got to use that better next time. Apart from that, found a groove, stuck with it, and got back to 5th after a little bit of a rocky start.
All right. Next week is Suzuka, a circuit that's a little bit similar, but not super similar to Laguna Seca. What are your anticipations for your run there?
I'd say somewhere around the same. I think that's going to adhere to the Bentley's advantages a little more with the long straights that it has, out of the hairpin especially, running up towards Spoon. I expect that to play into the Bentley's strengths a little more. BMW should still be competitive, though, so we'll see.
All right. Great job out there. Fantastic drive. Now I want to go ahead and talk with another driver today. I want to talk with our 6th place finisher, Prius Killer. Prius, you definitely made that race interesting to the very end. The last 5 laps, I was basically only watching your little battle. Go ahead, include your audio. What do you have to say about your run today, Prius?
It could have been better. I definitely just started making mistakes and became inconsistent after the pit stop. With my pace, I would have had a chance to catch Mabey and Rock and maybe get up to 4th, but in the end, Shredder got to me because he was more consistent and possibly faster in terms of just single lap. That end was fun though. I couldn't take the corkscrew, but he could get me on the front straight, and so his only chance really would have been to get a full car plus on me, which he never got.
Yeah. Well, my big question then is 6 was the best you could pull off today. Next week is Suzuka, a circuit that's a little bit similar to this one. How do you think you're going to perform there?
I've performed well at Suzuka in the past. It's just I've had Forza glitches. You would know with the IndyCar series. I'm expecting to do well, hopefully be close to the top 5 and maybe finally get a legitimate top 5 finish this time.
All right. Well, interesting circumstance to say the least. Hopefully it ends up working out for a top 5 finish for you, mate. You put on some great entertainment there at the end of that race, Prius. You definitely keep your head high. May not have been as good as you wanted it to be, but still a great run to the end.
Yeah,
All right.
just...
Want to talk... Yeah, go ahead. What?
You can go ahead.
Oh, no, you had something else to say, please.
I was going to say it was really fun trying to not wreck Shredder, but also sort of wreck him by not getting him in front of me.
Yeah, well, you can always go back and rewatch that on the stream. That will be very interesting. Anyways, thanks, Bruce Killer. I want to talk with 2 more people here. I want to talk with NFL Racer. NFL Racer, you came home 8th position. The weakest, honestly, of the BMWs. You were the last person on the lead lap by the end of that race. It wasn't horrible, but it just was kind of nowhere compared to your other BMW competitors. What do you have to say about your run?
You know, I think all things considered, I'm quite satisfied with the run. I've never been a very strong driver at Laguna, so the fact that I was able to maintain a lead lap performance ahead of Scored, who's just an absolute animal, and I mean, he's a fantastic teammate. I learn a lot from him, but he's just far and wide a superior driver to me. But being able to finish on the lead lap, especially being at the beginning of the race, I was backwards in the group twice at the beginning of the race. I will definitely take that. So I'll definitely be thankful for that 8th place, all things considered.
All right. Well, great job at maintaining a lead lap finish. I want to hear a little bit on your fight with Sunshine at the very end of the race. What was that like?
Sunshine, it was a great battle. I feel bad about it. I believe I ended up lag punting him to get the 8th spot, and because I went over and looked at the replay, and because I did get a recording of it, and I never touched him on my screen, but he went flying, so I would believe I would lag punt him. It's definitely not the way I would have wanted to pass him to get the spot, but we came away with the spot, and I feel it's a little small justification for just barely losing out to him at Watkins. So it's a bittersweet thing. I wish I could have done it a little bit more competitively, rather than internet connections and whatnot sullying it. But it was a good fight, and Sunshine's a heck of an opponent to go out there and trade laps with.
All right, outstanding drive out there, mate. 8th place, could have been better, but staying on the lead lap after being backwards twice, that definitely speaks to the strength of yourself and your car. Now I want to talk with our 7th place finisher here, SRD Shredder. Shredder, go ahead and include your audio. Before we get into anything else, you made an overtake on basically half of the field today. Of our 13 starters, not including yourself, you had 12, you overtook nearly half the field. You were the only person today that could make overtakes over many different people. We saw other people, they would bounce back and forth between 1 or 2 people. You came from last all the way up into 7th and very nearly had 6th there. What do you have to say about that run today, which, in my opinion, makes you driver of the day?
I mean, qualifying, if I'd finished my final qualifying lap without the car going on strike halfway through the course and giving me a dirty lap, probably would have started 8th, 9th is where it would have been looking at. But unfortunately, I've qualified last for the first time, I think, in any Forza League event I've ever done. So from there, the only way is up. And then got involved in turn 1, turn 2, and then turn 3 palaver on the first lap. And then from that point, just slowly started working my way through. Because then the car at the beginning was absolute shite, and I was in like the low 26s most of it. And then roughly halfway through the race, I figured out something with the car, and it started driving, and I instantly went to the mid-25s in times. And then sort of started pulling away from Sunshine, so I didn't have to worry much about an attack from him. He also seemed like he was struggling on his tyres really heavily, because he dropped off way too hard. Knew I could probably get to Prius, but it would have been, because the way the Bentley works with bouncing, it's got not the best handling, but it's got some good acceleration. So I knew I had the better handling car, and I knew a few spots could get it into, but the car wasn't cooperating 100%, so I had to make a few lunges at him.
All right, well, I mean, we saw you make some of those lunges, and some of them stuck, but then he would lunge right back at you and kind of counter the activity. Fantastic run out of the final corner, though. Kind of a shame you couldn't keep the power down. So the question now, Shredder, next week, Suzuka, it's a circuit that's kind of similar to this. Still going to be very downforce focused, going to be a little bit more focused on preserving your tires. What are your anticipations there?
Suzuka's not a track I'm a massive fan of, so it's going to be a mixed bag whether the car wants to cooperate more than how I think I'm going to do well. If the car decides to behave at the start and like it did in this race, I think I may have something, but I don't really know compared to the rest of the field.
All right. Well, one more question. This is from you as the owner. BMW, we saw an NFL racer, despite being way off pace and spinning out twice, he still stays on the lead lap. We see that you're the only driver able to go ahead and make overtakes throughout the day. Buffalo opens up a massive gap on the rest of the field, basically without issue. BMW Nerf, is that going to be incoming? Because this is the fifth straight race, basically, we've seen the BMW has a massive advantage over the rest of the field.
I do think it's more based on driver skill, because the way I balance every car in every league, I'll do the lap times, balance them as much as I can the thing, and I'll give them to the people, and if you can, whatever you can extract out of the car, that's what, yeah, we're not going to penalise you for getting the best out of the car. That's not, it's the same, I see it more as, you wouldn't shoot Usain Bolt in the foot just because he runs quickly. That's sort of the way I see the situation.
I mean, you wouldn't.
Let's not get into that.
All right. Well, I appreciate your honesty, so we're not anticipating any changes with the BOP between this week and next week.
Nah, shouldn't be. Unless it gets ridiculous somehow. If it gets to a point where it's a Max Verstappen moment, 2 seconds over the field, we may consider doing a personal nerf. But I don't really think that's coming because Lucky has, this proven abilities to match, overtake, battle with Scored.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Shredder, for jumping in and talking with us. We'll look forward to talking to you next week. Real quickly, one more driver jumped in, and we'll finish up our interviews with here. Rock Morrow, you came home in 4th position. Ahead of everyone else, you were basically racing all day long today. What do you have to say about your run out there?
It was as consistent as it could possibly get. I mean, I had a couple screw-ups, but other than that, I mean, it was just incident-free, and I really couldn't ask for anything more. So it was kind of just a really relaxing race. There wasn't really anything going on, so at least for me.
All right, next week is Suzuka, a circuit that's a little bit similar to this. Not super similar, but a little bit similar. What do you think your likelihood of another top 5 finish is there?
Hopefully the same. I mean, I don't know who's going to show up, but, if everything felt the way it did today, I'm going to hope the same.
All right, I appreciate your simplicity and honesty. Thanks for jumping in and talking with us. And with that in mind, I'll pretty much wrap up our broadcast here from Laguna Seca. Next week is Suzuka. Until that time, though, I've been your host, Stanley 13. Thank you very much for joining us today, and goodbye.